What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Well, the government-paid prostitutes are back at it yet again, making sure to shill just as hard as they can for Justin Trudeau, as a new article has gained steam online talking about how there's backlash against migration into Canada and how it's hurting Canada's image. I beg to differ as I ask the question of you, the viewing audience. Do you think that our our country's image is being tarnished by the amount of immigrants we're turning away, or by saying that we're going to slow migration to Canada? I don't know about that, but let's take a look at the article in question. CTV Politics putting out backlash against immigrants challenges Canada's welcoming image. Of course, they've got a good old person holding a Canadian flag hoping to get into the country, and here we go. Let's ramp it up here, folks. Growing perception in Canada that immigration is to blame for some of the country's economic woes is fueling a xenophobic, there's the key word, backlash, evidenced by a surge in reported hate crimes against visible minorities, advocates, and community members say. This is pushback because when you look at Toronto, when you look at woke Toronto, and the amount of violence in the streets, the car thefts, the urination in public, the defecation in public. You look at Wasaga Beach, you look at everything that is happening currently in the country that turns people away from migration. Many people have said that there's an invasion going on in Canada right now when you look at everybody who's coming over the border, both legally and illegally, over places like Roxham Road, again, to the tunes of over $100 million of taxpayer money to put these asylum seekers in hotels all along Montreal and Niagara. Yeah, people have had enough. Long a nation that took pride in welcoming newcomers, Canada is facing a reckoning over a sharp rise in the number of temporary residents, such as in international students and workers in recent years. Opinion polls show a growing slice of the public believes Canada has too many immigrants, and many blame them for a worsening housing crisis and surge in the cost of living. Well, yeah, that's how economics works. If we don't have jobs for people, and if we don't have houses for people, that ruins life for everybody else. It appears to have contributed to a slump in popularity of Trudeau's minority Liberal government. National election is due no later than October 2025, but may come sooner after the NDP this week withdrew its automatic support to the government. It will not come sooner. This is funny that they fearmonger on this topic. Hate crimes reported by police more than doubled from 2019 to 2023, according to the latest figures from Statistics Canada, with 44.5% of incidents in 2023 motivated by race, or ethnicity. My question is, what is the crime statistics for petty crime and even violent crime, theft? What has that done for Canadian statistics? None of these outlets want to mention that. They just want to say race. Hate crimes can include anything from homicide and assault to mischief and public incitement of hatred. The apparent growth in anti-immigrant sentiment runs counter to a long-standing consensus in Canada that the country welcomes newcomers on humanitarian and economic grounds. The concern over a shortage of housing and affordability appears to have weakened that consensus and given fresh life to year-old anti-immigrant tropes, said Peter Smith, a researcher with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, an advocacy organization. Well, of course, the guy who's in charge at the Anti-Hate Network is going to say it's all about hate. That's his job. God, the hypocrisy. They just think everybody's stupid, you know? People are looking for something to change, and people are also looking for someone to blame, he said. The target, unfortunately, and a very easy one, is immigrants. What about all the Canadians who are having their vehicles stolen? They seem to be easy targets. Leave your keys on the front door. Canada added more than 470,000 new permanent residents in 2023, or roughly 1% of its population. But the biggest bump in immigration numbers comes from temporary residents, especially students and workers, whose ranks have doubled in just 2 years, from 1.4 million in the second quarter of 2022 to 2.8 million in the second quarter of 24, according to Stats Canada. Again, we saw the backlash in the Maritimes as temporary foreign workers were protesting that We bought property while we were told we were temporary. We should be allowed to stay. Temporary foreign workers were actually shown by groups like Rebel News and Harrison Faulkner to be coming over, essentially going to school where these schools didn't even exist, and they were essentially just immigration offices to get people permanent residency. Justin Trudeau has now had to turn around in about pace and say, we're going to cut that back. We're going to send some of these people packing, because the writing's on the wall that his numbers are going out the window. He has to do something. He has no choice. A Ledger poll last month found that 65% of Canadians surveyed believe the Canadian government's current immigration plan will admit too many people. Most said they believe current immigration rates are contributing to the housing crisis and stresses on healthcare services, and called Canada's immigration policy too generous. Too generous is an understatement. It's weak. Balpreet Singh, legal counsel for the World Sikh Organization of Canada, believes the perception that newcomers are behind the country's economic ills has prompted a xenophobic response. He said Sikhs were often targeted by hate. Now, while we look to that, and while we talk about that, let's take a look at what's happening on Twitter right now. This is in Winnipeg last week. Look at the... people aren't worried about immigration. This is in Winnipeg. This is happening right now in Winnipeg. Brandishing swords, machetes. Like, of course, the legal counsel for the World Sikh Organization is going to say, oh, this is xenophobic. You should be bringing more of my people here. Yeah, so we can keep having that in our streets. When you're using the image of Sikh to represent the so-called problems of immigration, it's not a surprise that Sikh men who are very visible because of their turbans, their beards, are the ones that are being attacked. He says, no, you're pooping on our beaches, man. Like, in July, for example, a Sikh man was heading home from his temple in Scarborough area of Toronto, where he said he had his turban snatched off his head by somebody who jumped into a car and sped off. Police said they investigated, but no arrests has been made as of August 15th. Police investigated that, but they can't stop people from stealing cars? Come on. The victim was deeply shaken. I'm planning to go back home because of this incident. I don't feel safe, said Singh, who came to Canada from India as a student in 2022 and now holds a work permit. If you're going to go home simply because one person did something, dude. Look, I guess if we want to deal with immigration, maybe that's... No, I shouldn't say that. Of course that shouldn't happen. No hate should happen to anybody, but come on. I'm going to go home because of this? That's a stretch. I guarantee you that guy isn't going anywhere. In an interview, Immigration Minister Mark Miller said that Canada is not immune to anti-immigrant sentiment, but its long-lasting consensus around immigration, while challenged, remains part of its national identity. He said politicians need to be careful with their language. I'm not going to say there aren't any racists in Canada. There are, he said. I don't think it's risen to the level we've seen in other countries. I think we have to be vigilant. Of course, they mentioned the out-of-control system when it comes to migration. Conservative leader Pierre, who polls say would win a majority election if we're held now, has called Canada's immigration system out of control, shattered, chaos, and ruined. Well, it is. Those are all the right things. Now, of course, this is where the fear-mongering starts. The Liberals have said issues of housing and affordability are complex, but that immigration is at least partly responsible for the housing shortage. I mean, this is where we're at, is that they want to say, hey guys, unless you're going to leave your borders open and free for just anybody to come in, you're all a bunch of racists. If you're not going to house these people and get rid of red tape so that people can have houses to essentially keep pouring into the country and steal everyone's jobs, well, then that's just not the right way to be, right? Take a look at, when we look at migration, when we look at, this is all puckering up. This is all virtue signaling. It's all for optics. Take a look at this guy running in Montreal. Craig Suave, or I'm going to call him Craig Suave. I like that version much better. Craig Suave, who's running in Montreal. Well, he's posed with a nice little Palestinian flag behind him because he's bending over for optics. He's trying to virtue signal that, hey, everybody, I'm all pro with all these left, these left ideologies I'm all for the people. I'm all for mass migration and supporting what's going on with the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's the same thing when we talk about the Sikhs, when we talk about all of these protests that are going on around the country. My question is when did it become Canada's problem? When does it become Canada's problem to deal with foreign issues that have nothing to do with us? Whether it's the Ukraine, whether it's Palestine, whether it's India and Sikh nations, whether it's the Philippines, whether it's anywhere else where there's turmoil going on. If you feel so bad about what's happening over there, get on a plane with your cards, your flags, your banners, go and protest over there. I dare you. Nobody will. You know why? Because they don't put up with it there. They're not weak like Canada. Canadians have bent over for far too long and are taking way too much heat when it comes to, well, you're all xenophobic. No, we want to secure our borders. We want to secure jobs in our country. We want to make sure that housing is affordable for actual Canadian citizens. When you look at other countries that have very complex methods in order to gain citizenship or even approval to come and work and live in a country, Canada is amongst the weakest in the world. We simply open up our lines and say, come on in, guys. It's all free real estate, right? This is where I think things need to change in this country. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what you think about Craig Suave. And if he... I love saying that. If he's making the right move by posing with a Palestinian flag while he's running for a Canadian political position in office. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments if it's your first time here. I hope this video has earned your subscription. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show where we go over everything that's happened in the week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, and some back and forth within our communities. I'm also always joined on those streams by the lovely and beautiful Mrs. Fringe, my wife, who joins us on those streams to chat with you guys each and every week about what's happening in this world and in this country. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. Don't be too xenophobic. I'll catch you on the next one.